want you to tell everyone out there that we back up. Hi, I'm Holland. These are my thoughts on the books I read in the months of June and July. So, in my last video, which was so long ago at this point, I talked about the books that I wanted to read on vacation, and I read most of the books on that list, honestly. I think tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow we didn't end up doing for book club, and I didn't end up starting Huckleberry Finn. The rest of them I managed to read. So I've read 10 books and I'm reading one currently right now because July's not quite over at the time that I'm filming this. So I'm just doing this very casually today. I just have my Goodreads open and I'm going to go through all the books I read in June and July and tell you which ones I recommend, my general feelings about them. I do star ratings on Goodreads, but they're not super ironclad. I kind of feel differently right after I finish a book versus a couple weeks after I finish a book. My ranking system is 1 star is not only did this book waste my time, it also made me avidly angry. I wasn't just neutral toward it. That would be more like a 2 star. This is like I felt bad things. I wanted to yell at people. I wanted to commit some kind of violence.
And I'm literally gonna get violent. No, there is
like I got some vitriol from reading this book. That's what a 1 star is for me. If it kind of didn't do anything for me, that's a 2 star. Or if I had more negative things to say about it than positive things, that's probably a 2 star. 3 star is kind of middle of the road, take it or leave it. I think there were things I liked about it, there were things I maybe didn't like about it. Overall, fine, average read. 4 star is that was good. That was very good. Compliments to the chef on that one. 5 star is like not only do I think this was objectively a good book, but I personally felt very moved by it, or I just really, really enjoyed reading it. Or it has to have some kind of personal element for me. Usually it means it made me cry, because I'm a big crier with books. With that, the books I read in June, the first one I finished was The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. I was really excited to read this because I like kind of family lineage stories, and this one is set in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm from Texas, so I really like when I can kind of relate to the setting. This one really wrecked me. I did give it a 5 star. I mean, it did make me cry, and I loved the way the author explored motherhood in this book, family and forgiveness, and how do you know how many chances to give someone. It follows a family through probably like 2 generations. So it follows this mother and father who, of course, they meet, they fall in love, and they have a child. The members of this family kind of fall away from each other and find each other again at different points in their lives. And it was just beautiful. I believe it's a debut novel for this author, Sarah Damoff. Some of the quotes from this book about the relationships between parents and their children, just this is a book that I would absolutely buy a copy of and reread in the future because I loved it. Next is a nonfiction. So I have a pretty good mix of fiction and nonfiction in here. That's not true. I only have 2 nonfiction. I don't know why I said that. The next one is Careless People, a cautionary tale of power, greed, and lost idealism. And this is by another Sarah Wynn Williams. She was a former employee at Facebook. I guess you could call it kind of a whistleblower memoir. It's not necessarily like there's one specific thing that she's whistleblowing. I don't know the details, but I know in some way people at Facebook were trying to either stop this book from coming out or like minimize its press or something like that. She came into Facebook not from the tech side, but as someone with experience in geopolitics who saw that Facebook was going to be a very important player in the geopolitical sphere as it gained a lot of traction in kind of the 2010s. I think around 2012 was when she first started working there. She did a really good job in the memoir of balancing how people at Facebook were irresponsible on a political scale and a geopolitical scale. For example, conceding some data privacy policies in order to enter in the market in China. So I just thought she did a really good job of balancing the issues geopolitically with Facebook, with her personal experiences and how she experienced a lot of misogyny as a woman and as a mother in particular, and was also very overworked. So I thought it was really well done. It was really fascinating, especially learning about her personal interactions with Mark Zuckerberg. It's just like, wow, what a guy. You know? So yeah, Careless People, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, maybe 4.5. 4.5 stars for Careless People. The next one I read was the last book of the month book that I ever received, which was the April one from the April box. I canceled my book of the month subscription because, well, let me show you the book and then you'll partially understand. This is the copy that I received from Book of the Month, and look at this. There's ink on the cover in a place there's not supposed to be. Do you see that? I saw this and I was like, why? Okay, not to shit talk Book of the Month too much, but these books are not good quality. They're just not. Like, you can just tell a difference between this kind of hardback and a hardback that you buy from Barnes and Noble or from an independent bookstore. Like, this feels cheaper. Between that and the ink smeared on my copy, I was like, we're done here. Not only that, this also was bad. It's just not good. The concept is this kind of middle-aged woman, originally from Australia, living in New York, isn't finding any meaning in her life in New York, so she decides to go to this lake in Guatemala that she went to one time and she thought was beautiful. Okay, fine. But my problem with this book, I have multiple problems with this book. One of them is that I don't feel like I understood this character at all. Like, I didn't understand why she was so dissatisfied with her life in New York City, and I didn't understand why she really felt like going to this place in Guatemala was going to help. Also, it's called I forgot to say what it's called. This book is called The Sun Was Electric Light by Rachel Morton. It's very short, but also way too long at the same time. So I didn't feel like I understood the main character's motivations. She clearly was kind of depressed, but I feel like I didn't get enough insight into her to understand the intricacies of her feelings of depression, and so therefore I wasn't rooting for her. She essentially goes to Guatemala and really only hangs out with other white people. Other quote unquote expats. Why are you going to this place, not making any attempt to speak Spanish that I can tell, not really interacting with the local people and culture, and just hanging out with other white people? It wasn't enough. There wasn't enough in this book to leave me with a sense of satisfaction. This was a 2-star. It wasn't quite a 1-star, but just not really worth the time to read it, in my opinion, and certainly not worth the money. Again, can we get a close up? And it's like, the jacket doesn't fit. I'm gonna stop complaining now. The next thing I read, got from the library, it's called The Dream Hotel. I did talk about it in my last video, The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami. I was excited to read this because the premise is very interesting. Arresting people, detaining them essentially based on predictive algorithms. I feel like that's very apt, not only with artificial intelligence, but with the deprivation of due process happening in this country. I feel like the strongest argument that the book made wasn't even against these predictive algorithms, it was just against incarceration as a whole, because it really highlighted the inhumanity of these prison systems, especially these private prison systems, and how they are designed to get cheap labor off of you, how they make it difficult for you to work your way out of this system intentionally because keeping you there is more profitable. I feel like it had a lot of good commentary on just the incarceration system in general, and it wasn't necessarily made more compelling by this artificial intelligence predictive algorithm component. You know, the main character is a wife and a mom, and she works at the Getty Center in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles. Like, it can even happen to her, even though she didn't do anything. And I understand that, but I think the reasons that some people, largely black and brown people, are already put in prison are already so arbitrary. And even if they have done something, does that merit this kind of inhumanity? No, it doesn't. So I gave that 3 stars. I think it was good, but it didn't really blow me away because of the way some of the themes were fighting with each other for attention. The next thing I read that I did bring on vacation that I talked about in my last video was All Fours by Miranda July. I was very impressed by this. I don't think I rated it 5 stars. No, I gave it 4 stars. I feel like we need more books like this that dive into aspects of feminism that aren't just completely elementary, which I'm I'm going to talk about in a second with Lessons in Chemistry. But this book, really the whole point of it is a woman's relationship with her own body, with her desire for sex, for space, for food. How is a woman's body given to other people, and when does she decide that, okay, it's time for me to take it back for myself? I felt untethered from my age and femininity, and thus swimming in great new swaths of freedom and time. One might shift again and again like this, through intimacies, and not outpace oldness exactly, but match its weirdness, its flagrant specificity, with one's own. Be so fucking for real right now. Ugh. It's just so good. It was really brilliant. I feel like I could go back and reread it right now, and I would get something new out of it and appreciate it in a whole new way, which just is really impressive in a novel. So, All Fours by Miranda July. 5 star, honestly. This was really 5 stars. Would absolutely recommend this book. The next thing was I was on vacation. Basically, it's mandatory to read a Taylor Jenkins Reid novel when you're on vacation. So I read Malibu Rising by her. It's about 4 siblings who are the children of Mick Riva, he's in a lot of her books, but he's like a Mick Jagger rock star type of guy who's also kind of a douchebag. So they're his kids, and they don't really see him anymore. And these kids are all kind of finding their own way in relationships, in their careers. This place, Malibu, where they all grew up, really ties them all together. Taylor Jenkins Reid in this book kind of plays with giving you lots of POVs, which was cool in some ways, but I think it was a little bit overdone. So that's what took this book from, you know, like down from a 4 or 5 to I think maybe like a 3.5 is what I would give this book. Not one of her strongest, but still an enjoyable read. The next one I read, also while I was on vacation, was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I talked in my last video about how I was very much looking forward to reading this. I was a little disappointed ultimately. I don't think this is a bad book. I do think it's insanely predictable. And maybe part of that is my fault because I'd already started the book before, so I knew what I was really getting into. The synopsis really does tell you everything. There was nothing in this book that surprised me except for one kind of offshoot storyline that I won't say because it's supposed to be kind of like a mystery. I think this is very elementary feminism. So this book really is what you'd expect it to be, I would say. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was well done for what it is, but I probably won't reread this. I probably will donate this to a local library or something. This was a 3 out of 5 for me. Just kind of middle of the road, had things I liked, also had issues. On the plane ride home from the beach, I read Powerless by Elsie Silver, so that's the next one in the Chestnut Springs series. And I read this like all all in a day on the planes I was taking home. It was a very quick read. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. I thought the Friends to Lovers was cute. I liked that the female main character did learn to stick up for herself a little bit. I don't know, I liked their romance. I liked that he helped her like run away from getting married to this guy who was really mean to her. I do wonder why she was with a guy that was so mean to her. I don't know why another man had to help her realize that she shouldn't have been with that guy. I will be honest, I don't remember too much about this book, again, because I read it entirely in a day. It didn't piss me off, so that's good. Final book, and then I have one short story that I read, is probably my favorite one of the bunch. I just finished it yesterday. It is the winner of the Booker Prize from last year, Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I did not know what to expect going into this book. It was just beautiful. It was gorgeous. It's about 6 astronauts slash cosmonauts that are orbiting around Earth in kind of an international space station. They go around the Earth like 8 or 9 times in the span of a day. They run experiments, they take data, they look at weather patterns on the Earth and report them back. Really, this book is a love letter to planet Earth. It is beautifully written. It doesn't really have a plot. So if that's something that you need in a book, this is not going to be for you. And I was surprised after I finished it to see it had really mixed reviews. And a lot of them were because not a lot happens in this book. It's mostly them being appreciative of the place that we call home. This is from the end of the first chapter. The Earth is the answer to every question. The Earth is the face of an exalted lover. They watch it sleep and wake and become lost in its habits. The Earth is a mother waiting for her children to return, full of stories and rapture and longing. Their bones a little less dense, their limbs a little thinner, eyes filled with sights that are difficult to tell. It's so gorgeously written, and it really forces you to visualize and understand how Earth looks from afar. It's easy not to appreciate the Earth when you're walking on it every day, you know? Like, you become focused on your own life and your immediate surroundings and problems. This really forces you as a reader to take a step back and empathize with these astronauts and see what they see and feel what they feel. They also have this interesting kind of guardian angel relationship with the Earth where they can kind of help inform from afar, but they don't have a way to immediately access their family, and they won't for a long period of time. So there's loneliness that comes with that, but they all agree that it's just this wonderful, beautiful experience that they wouldn't give up for anything. Oh, I could cry thinking about it. It was really, really wonderful. Like, this is why I read books, is to feel like this. Currently, I'm reading 2 things. I'm listening to When Mackenzie Comes to Town on audiobook on Spotify. That's been very interesting and troubling. I'm about a third of the way through that, I believe. The other thing that I just got from the library, I'm doing space books back to back, is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm so excited. Atmosphere, a love story. I just noticed that that's the subtitle. Atmosphere, a love story. Stop. And this is about an astronomer, a female astronomer, who gets involved in the NASA space shuttle program in the 1980s. I'm only like 50 pages in right now, so I should be done in the next like week. Those are the books I read in June and July. So favorites definitely were Orbital by Samantha Harvey, All Fours by Miranda July, and The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. That's all for today. So I hope you enjoyed those reviews as well as the little beachy vlog at the very beginning. Yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.